Welcome to this explainer. Okay, so have you ever found yourself smack in the middle of a tense conversation, just watching the anxiety or frustration build and wishing you had some kind of, psychological superpower to instantly smooth things over? Yeah, we've all been there. Today, we're going to unpack a brilliant strategic method for managing those interpersonal tensions and honestly, drastically improving your communication. It's a tactical approach known as the art of emotional labeling. By the time we wrap up here, you're going to walk away with a highly practical, incredibly effective tool. It is absolutely going to change how you handle tricky social dynamics, and it'll help you navigate high-stakes scenarios with just incredible ease. Okay, let's dive into this with a scenario we're all incredibly familiar with. Imagine you're standing in a conference room, or maybe backstage at an event. Your friend, or maybe a colleague, is pacing back and forth. They're fidgeting, their breathing is totally shallow, and they look undeniably nervous right before a massive presentation. Now, you want to be a good friend, right? You want to help them calm down and actually succeed. So, take a quick second and think about your natural instinct. What is the very first thing you typically say to them in that exact moment?
Well, if you're like most people, your immediate default instinct is probably to just ask them a direct question. You likely say something along the lines of, "Hey, are you okay?" Or "Are you nervous?" And look, we do this with the best of intentions, obviously. But according to the psychology here, our default instincts are actually terrible. We're practically walking them right into a trap, the direct question trap. See, when tensions are already running high and someone is experiencing a whole swirl of difficult emotions, hitting them with a direct question doesn't actually soothe them. Instead, it totally derails the interaction. It literally forces their brain to suddenly stop, process your question, evaluate their own emotional state, and then formulate a defense. It inadvertently builds this invisible wall between you and the exact person you're trying to help.
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is the profound psychological difference between these two approaches. When you ask that direct question, "Are you nervous?" to a highly stressed brain, it actually feels like an attack. It feels super confrontational. It puts them right on the spot, and their immediate reflex is usually to just get defensive and blurt out, "No, I'm fine." But if you shift your approach to a descriptive statement, something like, "It seems like you're a bit worried about the speech," well, everything changes. Instead of poking them with a sharp question, you're just gently observing. By bringing that hidden emotion out into the open in a safe, descriptive way, you completely neutralize the negative feeling. You validate their experience without cornering them.
So, avoiding that direct question trap requires a really deliberate, tactical shift in how we speak. We have to move away from demanding information, which, let's face it, is what a question inherently does, and shift towards using empathetic language. And let me tell you, when you master this shift, it truly acts as your communication superpower. It allows you to step directly into someone else's world, acknowledge their reality, and completely diffuse their internal tension, all at the exact same time. You literally transition from being an interrogator to being an ally.
So let's put a formal definition to this superpower. Emotional labeling is a strategic method that relies on making neutral observations to identify another person's feelings, entirely without sounding confrontational. The key words to remember here are neutral observations. You aren't judging them, you're not telling them how they should feel or what they should do. You are simply holding up a mirror to their emotional state. And when you do this correctly, this technique immediately de-escalates their anxiety. It gives them explicit permission to feel exactly what they're feeling. That brings those hidden, bubbling emotions safely up to the surface, completely bypassing those defensive reflexes we talked about.
And this brilliantly illustrates that to actually make this shift in real life, you need a practical toolkit. I mean, it's one thing to understand the theory, right? But you need the right words right at the tip of your tongue when the pressure is actually on. So this is your labeling toolkit. It's a simple, really elegant set of phrases designed to help you transition smoothly from those unhelpful direct questions to powerful descriptive statements. From now on, whenever you feel the sudden urge to ask, "Hey, what's wrong?" you're going to reach into this toolkit instead.
All right, here are the 3 core scripts you need to memorize. It seems like, it sounds like, and it looks like. These right here are the absolute foundations of emotional labeling. Notice just how soft and non-threatening they are. You aren't saying, "You are angry," or "You are nervous." Doing that just states a fact they might try to argue with. You're simply offering an observation based on what you are picking up in the moment. It seems like you're a bit worried about the speech. Or, it sounds like you're really frustrated with this project. Or maybe, it looks like you've had an incredibly long day. These neutral observations are absolutely the perfect entry point for navigating literally any tense social scenario.
Let's move to and see how this builds, because having the right script, well, that's only half the battle. If you just drop a label and immediately keep talking to fill the void, you completely ruin the effect. the crucial secret ingredient that makes these labels actually work, the real magic that unlocks the true superpower of this technique, is intentional silence. You basically have to learn to shut your mouth and just embrace the quiet.
This is the absolute strictest tip in the entire framework. You must always pause for exactly 4 seconds after delivering a label. No exceptions. You make your descriptive statement and then you just wait. Let's actually demonstrate this intentional silence right now so you can really feel the weight of it. Imagine I just looked at you and said, "It seems like you've got a lot on your mind right now." Did you feel that? In a real conversation, that 4 seconds feels like an absolute eternity. Your brain's instinct will scream at you to fill that gap with more words. Don't do it. Hold the line for 4 full seconds.
So, the crucial point is that this intentional silence is what truly does the heavy lifting here. If you keep talking, you trample right over their internal processing. But when you pause for those 4 seconds, you allow the message to land. You let the empathy resonate. That silence creates this safe, quiet vacuum. And you know what they say, human nature abhors a vacuum. The other person will naturally step right into that space. They'll open up, the hidden emotions will surface, and they'll start telling you exactly what is going on simply because you gave them a safe label and the silent space to explore it.
And that brings us to our final thought for this explainer. You now possess a toolkit that can literally de-escalate anxiety and transform conflict into genuine connection. You know to avoid the direct question trap, you know to use neutral observations like, "it seems like," and you know to embrace that incredibly powerful 4-second pause. So, I'm going to leave you with this challenge. Who in your life do you need to use this superpower on today? Is it a stressed coworker, a frustrated partner, maybe a nervous friend? The next time tension rises, don't ask what's wrong. Label the emotion, hold the silence, and just watch the magic happen.